Refrigerators, cold rectangles that we take advantage of to do our culinary bidding. Sometimes we use them correctly, but sometimes we abuse them. Sometimes we use them to hide our dirty secrets, the dirty secret of food we haven't cooked or eaten. In this video series, I will go through my own refrigerator and shamelessly show you some of the limp, opened, and other food stuff in my own refrigerator. And then I'll show you some easy ways to prepare the food. In this first video, my first ever YouTube video, I will show you how to make pan-seared chicken with sauteed green vegetables and rice. Let's go. Let's start with what you'll need. Here's a list of things that I used, but feel free to use what is in your refrigerator. Here's a recap of what I'm going to use in my recipe, but you use what you have. So for me, I had some very sad and limp bok choy. I also had some chopped kale that was already opened. I ate a little bit of it in a salad before, so I'm going to use up some more of it today in this recipe. I'm also going to use an onion. Stay tuned to find out more about what happens with this onion. And lastly, for my protein, I am going to use some free-range, boneless, skinless chicken breast. I also decided to treat myself to some jasmine rice. I love to open the container and see when it's so perfectly arranged and flat at the top. That's why I just showed you that. We've got the thumbs up. Let's get started. The first thing you need to do is to get out a really nice knife. Make sure it's really sharp. Next, place a pot on the stove to start boiling water to cook your rice, and another pot to saute your green vegetables. I'm going to use avocado oil to saute my vegetables. Turn the heat on and pour in a little bit of the oil of your choice, or you can use water if you'd like. Here comes the surprise of the video. I'm going to use a whole half of an onion instead of a small piece. I know, I'm living on the edge, using a whole half of an onion. Now I've just readjusted the camera a little bit so you can get a better view of me chopping the onion, the entire half of an onion that I have committed to using in this recipe. First, I'm going to make vertical cuts across the onion. This looks very, very precarious as I'm watching myself do it. I felt completely fine as I was doing it, but watching it and editing this video, I feel afraid for my fingers. Now I'm making horizontal cuts, and it is an avalanche of onion. Don't forget those little bits there at the end, because we don't have enough onion already in this recipe. There's always room for more onions. Need to adjust the camera a little bit more, I think. You can see now into the pot that the onions are starting to sizzle, And watch as I try to put all of the onions into the pot. Little back story about putting all these onions into the pot. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera, but several pieces did not make it into the pot, and I did have to stop and clean up all of the pieces of onion that did not make it into the pot. This is just the reality of cooking for oneself without any sous chefs to clean up your mess. Boom! Got the spatula out. Gonna stir them up a little bit. Stir, 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 stir. Cooking in a non-stick pot. Also just gonna stir though for fun. I think this lag in action here is when I am cleaning up all of the pieces of onion that fell on the floor. Now I'm going to get out my Morton iodized salt. I'd like to advise you to add a little less than I did. I thought I was being cute, videoing myself for the first time, but this actually turned out kind of too salty. So I will include some better measurements on my blog post that you can go read in the description box below. It'll be linked. Stir it up a little bit. The salt draws out moisture from the onions or whatever vegetables you are cooking, and so that's why it's a good idea to throw in a little bit of salt. Now I'm going to flex on y'all with my bigger knife. That smaller knife was annoying me. I have some pieces of garlic. I'm actually using this garlic before it starts to turn green. So I'm super proud of myself in this recipe. Gonna smash it, peel it, and then chop it up. Which it does not appear that you can see on camera. Just use your imagination. Fun fact of the video, the first time I used this knife, I sliced my finger open. Yes, I'm still chopping garlic. Here I'd like to bring you in for a very intimate look at the onions and at the boiling water. I'm going to just adjust the camera several times to make sure that it's still not quite right. There I was adding a little salt to the water where I'm going to boil the rice. Now I'm attempting to show you guys my 1/4 cup measure, copper from Sur La Table. That did not turn out right in the video at all, but I tried. And I'm going to reach in front of the view of my camera and add some rice Look at my arm. This is that quality content that I know that you're tuning in for. I added the rice to the boiling water and I gave it a little whisk, and I'm going to put you up on game right here. If you put a wooden spoon over your pot like I just did, it won't boil over unless you put way too much water in there, and then it'll boil over. But a wooden spoon over your pot, it will not boil over. Here we can see we're getting a little bit of caramelization on the onions. The onions are starting to look a bit dry though, so I'm going to add some chicken broth from Target. That's the Target brand where all the rich people shop. So I'm going to put a little in, put this back in the refrigerator, even though I'm pretty sure I will need to add more later. Now I'm going to stir this up. I like to stir. I've never watched footage of myself cooking, but I can see that I am quite a fan of stirring things. Quite interesting. Now I'm going to bring out my little limp bok choy. Can see it's a little bit dirty, so I'm going to walk to the sink and rinse it off. Now I'm going to chop my bok choy. Here I'm going to throw in the leafy parts. Even though this bok choy is quite limp, we still believe that it matters. Here I'm going to chop up the rest of it, the white part, throw it in. Rearrange a bit. Rearrange the camera. Now everything, well, all of the bok choy is in the pot now. Here I'm going to add just a little bit more water. Now the bok choy has come to a bit of a simmer. I'm going to add the kale in. I'm going to add quite a bit because I'm trying to use up all of these great green vegetables that are left over in my refrigerator. At this point in the video, I also realized that I should add a little bit more water and a little bit more light. So you can tell that things brightened up a little bit with the light. Now I'm going to add some pepper. Another word of caution, I was also overzealous with the pepper, and this was also too spicy. So again, I'll have some proper measurements on the blog post. Now I'm going to add in some oregano, just a little bit, something to cut all the salt and pepper that I have added to this dish. After letting the vegetables get a bit soft, I am now going to cover them with a pot lid and let them steam for a little bit while I work on the chicken. Here I just wanted to show everyone again the trick with the wooden spoon and the adjustments for the heat on the stove. Everything is looking good so far. Now let's move on to the chicken. I'm going to use a red cutting board because my personal motto is ruminate, don't cross-contaminate. So that means I'm going to use a separate cutting board for chicken or fish or beef than I use for vegetables. Now let's get our poultry popping, our popping poultry. I'm going to open the pack of chicken. Very carefully. Doesn't look like it, but I was careful. And then I'm going to take the larger knife and split the chicken breast in half. Be very careful if you attempt this, and also be very mindful of the sharpness of your knife. You'll need a really sharp knife in order to do this without hurting yourself. And just like that, we have a nice piece of chicken that has been cut into 2 pieces. I'm going to use some very simple seasoning, some Tony Chachere's, Chachere's. This stuff you can buy from Wally World, from Target. I think even Whole Foods sells it now. So you're going to season both sides of your meat. I've seen people only season one side. That's weird to me. I'm going to season both sides of the meat. Now I'm going to check on the rest of the stuff I got going on. The vegetables look good. Position the camera near the pan that I'm going to use to sear the chicken. I'm going to use the same avocado oil and put a little bit into the pan. There we go. There's the shot of the avocado oil. And then let the oil heat up a little bit. Checking it with my hand because I'm an OG. Now I'm adding the chicken after I let it heat up a little bit, of course. And now I'm just going to cook it on both sides until it is done and ready to eat. And here is the final product. Pan-seared chicken with green vegetables and rice. Looking good. I took it outside to get a better shot of it in the sunlight. It looks great. And that's it for my first YouTube video. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to share, like, and subscribe.